Welcome in Advice Pod. My name is Kyle. This is Raysean. And this is our friend Sam Brown.
Yo, what's good?
Hey, how's it going?
Am I the a-hole for telling my wife she takes me for granted and to stop digging me out for, quote, not doing it enough? I just want to hit pause before I read this. One, digging me out is a phrase that I never heard until a few weeks ago in a different Reddit post. Still not 100% sure what it means. I imagine it's like getting yelled at. So
Yeah.
Just so we're on the same page. Also, I always hate that one of these tags shows up if there's been a lot of interaction on a post. I don't need to know that everyone sucks before I read the post. Let me decide for myself, Reddit. Why do you keep trying to make up my mind for me? Anyway. By the a-hole for telling my wife she takes me for granted and to stop digging me out for not doing enough. For context, our son just turned 12 months and my wife returns to work tomorrow after a year off of work. They're not from America because you don't get a year off work and you have a baby here. We are very fortunate as I work for a blue chip and make six figures, but often that means working away or 50 to 60 hours per week. And so we have agreed that rather than her return full-time and put our son in nursery, she would only work 2 days per week and help raise our son 5 days per week. I get really fucked off when my wife scoffs at me after she tries to assign me a job. These guys are definitely from Australia. I get really fucked off when my wife scoffs at me after she tries to assign me a job to do via a disingenuous question. For example, this afternoon, I asked if our son was due for a nap, and she replied, "Yes. Do you want to walk him around the block?" I am pretty tired after catering at his birthday party yesterday. So I said, "Do you want to take him?" An argument ensued regarding how I don't do enough to help her with our son, with my main point being that she is our son's primary quote-unquote caregiver, and A, you've not worked for 12 months. B, you aren't returning to work full time. And C, we now pay her parents to clean our house, which is affordable due to my work. For context, I like to cook, so I cook all of our dinners. As I said, cleaning is taken care of by someone else. I've always helped with our son, whether it's changing, nappies, or feeding time, etc. Admittedly, she does much more than me, particularly whilst she was breastfeeding. But she quipped my view on us parenting is like something from the dark ages. Am I the asshole here? Feels like a cake and eat it situation.
I think I have some insight in this. And before I get into this, I just want to preface this with no one can talk to Emily about this stuff or relate. And Emily, if you're listening, please shut this off.
Hi, Emily.
No, I'm kidding. But I totally I relate to this. And I think a lot of times problems like this are like, am I the one in the wrong here? I think I should win this argument. And like the truth is like, you're looking at it the wrong way. The truth is that like, this isn't a problem about who's right, who's wrong, who's the asshole here. This is a problem about you two communicating with each other and communicating what your expectations are and changing how you communicate with each other. Like here's the thing is like, especially when like there's some things that Sky mentioned that like, you know, are a little like, oh, this is what's going on here, like red flag kind of things. Not that they're red flags, but sort of like indicators of what's going on. Like one was my wife was breastfeeding. It's like a 1-year-old, like, you know, breastfeeding is like not comfortable. It's like a very painful, you know, like process. It's that all of a sudden the baby views you as this like food source. So whenever the baby's like upset and needs something, they're like, I need you. And so all of a sudden there is this like situation where there's this dynamic where like physically one of the partners has to give more all of a sudden.
Sure.
And like, not all of a sudden, but like in this situation, it's like, you think about like, like the crazy thing about like being in a relationship with someone is not the relationship, it's that you have to be roommates with that person. And being roommates with a person is hard. Like with any person. Do you guys, you have roommates, you ever have roommates?
Yeah, man. I had the same roommate for like 8-9 years. It was a woman. We were not involved. We made the decision to not be involved before we moved in together because we had a little bit of a history. But we're like, if we're going to live together, let's not be fucking silly about it because it is like an agreement with one another to be cool and be respectful of each other's space, time, energy, stuff. And, there no kid involved, obviously. That's a whole different level of stressor. But I think it does start from a place of mutual respect.
So, but I mean, like that roommate situation, that like, it sounds like it was a healthy roommate situation, right?
Yeah, for the most part, we got along really well. She's still a close friend and somebody I love. So,
but it also sounds like it took a lot of work.
At first, yeah. Thankfully, at first it took a little bit of work from both of us. But once we were like in our comfort levels, our rhythm with it, even though we had to move several different times, it was a pretty healthy thing. Yeah.
But and you have to understand where the person's boundaries are, like what is or isn't good there, Now, like if you threw in, you both had something at the apartment that was both of your favorite thing, and it was also something that if you didn't look at it, like basically 24 hours a day, it would die a tragic death that would probably like screw you up mentally for the rest of your life.
This is what it's like to have a baby. This is scary, man.
Yeah, totally. Totally. Yeah. Cause like when babies are born, like you're like, oh, like it could, sudden infant death syndrome's a thing. If it's sleeping weird, it's like gonna die. Like that's not like definitely gonna happen, but there's that possibility.
But it might.
And here's the thing is like, if you're like, oh yeah, it's probably not gonna die, but the like other side of that is that this thing that you love so much, this like thing that is like fucking adorable that you love so much and that you're like, oh, I just want to protect this thing, is gonna die, and you're gonna have to think about that for the rest of your life. You're gonna be like, oh shit, I got to take care of this thing. And now also throw in the whole thing of like, think about like you as a person, how you like are like, any average person is sitting around going, I wonder what thing from my past fucked me up. And it's always like some random shit from your childhood, just some random thing. So you're also just trying not to like fuck up your kid. You're also like trying to just be like, I don't want to do this thing that traumatizes my kid for life. So, and it could be something that's very like, I have to be like kind of diligent about that because it could be something that I'm not even realizing doing. And so you throw that in there and it's just like an impossible situation. And it takes a ton of patience and a ton of empathy for the other person. And I think like in situations like these, where it is this thing of like, and like also the way this person presented it, in like, oh, like, here's the situation. I'm doing all the work and, like she brings, I bring up like, does the baby have to take a nap soon? And she says, yes, why don't you take it for like, it's like this like many steps thing where it's like, he's getting like, he's viewing this as like, the problem is here where she asked me to do something. And then that's where it blows up. But like the problem is back when it started, when he asked her if the baby needs to take a nap, which she's thinking right then, I don't know for sure, but I assume what she's thinking is like, why don't you know? Like, why aren't you keeping track of this? You're also the parent here. And so when she is saying, well, why don't you take a walk with the baby? She's like, well, if I'm going to be, like doing all the work of like keeping track of what needs to be done with the baby, you can do something. And then he's like, why don't you take a walk with the baby? And she's like, oh, you don't do anything in this relationship. And even though it's like he's, working and bringing home money, he's also like getting like this, even though like it's stressful, and I'm sure like traveling is stressful and work is stressful, it's also like kind of a break from this like world where you're just taking care of a baby. And not that it's something that you need to like escape, but it is nice to sometimes be around a bunch of adults or just be like quietly working on stuff. So there is this like split there of like, yeah, great job. You're making money and you're providing for us. Great. But that doesn't mean you don't have to be a dad.
I mean, I feel like it's interesting that all of his complaints revolve around the parenting aspect of his life, or like the stuff that he manages to avoid because his wife takes on such a heavy burden with it. But the post is titled, am I an a-hole for telling my wife that she takes me for granted? Like, dude, project a little harder onto the situation. I think you know that you're taking your wife for granted a little bit here, and how much dedicated to taking care of your child while you're gone 50, 60 hours a week.
But that's the thing too, is like, yeah, I think you're totally right in that, but like, that's not the answer here. The answer here is that you aren't communicating with her properly and she's not communicating with you properly. And you guys aren't talking about the underlying issue here of like, you're not like communicating your needs to each other. And you're sort of like relying on the fact that like, oh, I can like just go to work and I don't have to be the one to like, put the baby down for a nap every day.
Yeah. Okay. I can continue with a semblance of normalcy in my life outside of having a new baby.
Yeah. It's like, it's tough. And I mean, like, and that's the thing. It's like, he doesn't appreciate the way she's talking to him about it, the way she's bringing this stuff up. And I'm sure she doesn't appreciate his attitude towards her when this stuff gets brought up too,
True. Raysean, what do you think? Is this dude an asshole? Are they all assholes? I think I'm kind of trending toward the everyone sucks thing. That tag has so far never been wrong.
Well, I mean, I feel like the main thing, what Sam said, communication being the big key, is something that does need to be addressed, because it seems like y'all all have different expectations of y'all relationship, and y'all need to figure out what y'all need to do. Because I mean, you do say y'all agreed on her working 2 days. Did y'all really sit down, talk, and agree, or did you say, I'm working, I need you to be here for 2 days? That's where I feel like y'all need to work on that part real. And also, you can take probably a little bit more effort into probably raising your kid. I don't know what that split is, but I do feel like if that's an argument, you can see what little things you might can do more. I'm not going to say not to work, because I clearly do need to work. And it seemed like you are trying to lessen her burden a little bit by doing the cooking and also getting people to come in and clean and stuff like that. So it do seem like you understand a little bit, but I don't think you truly probably understand having to probably sit at home and just raise a kid all day. That in itself can be a job. So I think you need to, maybe I probably just need to step into each other's shoes. Maybe you need to stay home for a month and see how it is raising a kid just all by yourself, and then have her go to work and just kind of switch roles and see how that feels.
Body swap movie, right?
Mm-hmm. Like, Freaky Friday, parent style.
You guys need to both touch some ancient relic. And
y'all need to do this quick, because I don't want y'all to go getting divorced because y'all can't get this communication, and this is something that can lead to divorce. So work on it.
Yeah. And I mean, and I've heard like great like tactics towards like kind of taking care of this issue, which is I've heard people say that they'll do a thing where, when they get home from work, they meet with their partner and like go like, oh, I'm at a 30 right now. And the other person can be like, well, I'm at like a 50, so I can like try and pick up some slack and you know, because it's like, you know, there's, you know, the problem is that when you get like deep into this kind of like parenting and like co-parenting thing, is that like that partnership becomes competitive, and you stop thinking like, what does my partner need, and start thinking like, oh, I'm so tired, and then like or like I like you just start like thinking about what you personally need, and you're not communicating that. And it helps if you're like communicating that in a way where it's just like, hey, just so you know, I have this going on right now. And that happens with me and Emily all the time, is like we have these, and like sometimes it doesn't happen, and we have these moments where we like get into little fights here and there, and it sucks, and like it's like we have to like backtrack to like why it happened. But sometimes we have the peace of mind to be like, hey, just so you know, I have a really bad headache right now and I'm dealing with that. And it's like, oh, do you need water or something, or some headache medicine, or do you need to lie down? Just so you know, I've been taking care of Wally for the past, you know, like 4 hours, and he's been like just off the wall. Oh, okay. Yeah. I'll bring him to the park. You know, like, and again, it gets easier with communication like that.
Okay. That makes a lot of sense. See, I'm glad that we had like an experienced dad to come on and talk about how co-parenting is very much, it's not like a this or that, or this, you do this, you do that. It is an ongoing, frequent, high touch, as they say in the business world, conversation. It's something that you need to continuously check in on. Unfortunately, I mean, unfortunately, I don't know if it's unfortunately, maybe that's not the right word, but it's something that you constantly need to be addressing, and, you know, self-maintenance to those areas of your life, or else people grow to resent each other real quick, man. Resentment is silent and it fucking grows quickly. And that's just like a great way to combat it.
Parenting is a job you cannot go home from. You know, like if you have a job that you're just like, oh, I'm always going to be at this job, that's parenting.
Yeah, it's a prison sentence for 18 years.
I think you just did a great job illustrating why I don't have any children, Sam, but cool. Good to be reminded, at least. So let's
appreciate your freedom. Yeah.
I love it. Seriously. So is everybody the asshole here then, and they need to work on their communication skills? Is that what we're agreeing on? Nobody's the asshole?
Nobody's the asshole. Parenting is hard. That's it.
Okay.
Forgiveness. Can you imagine?
I mean, that's, you know, like you can get it to that place. If you're stuck on like, no, I make 6 figures, she's the asshole, then you're the asshole. But like the real, I think that the productive way to look at this is no one's the asshole. It's just a hard situation. Because, you know, that happens, is sometimes you just end up in a hard situation and people react in extreme ways to things. And it's not that they are being malicious. It's just that, you know, like you're not on the same page in that moment, you know?
Regular occurrence, not only in relationships, but family units in general. I guess no one's the asshole, but I think this guy's kind of a little bit of an asshole. He did try to hold that money shit. That was like first paragraph 1. I work at a blue chip company. I assume that's
also
his accent.
It probably he feels taken for granted. He says that in his thing. Like that's tough. Is like is if someone, you know,
taken for granted, you know, it's a hard
benefiting
one.
from you, and but like they both feel that resentment. You know, they both feel like they're being taken for granted.
Y'all need to go to a couples counselor and maybe get some positive dialogue going.
Yeah.
That's our advice. Go to a counselor, you fucking weirdos. Reddit's not going to sort out all your issues. We're not always going to have Sam Brown here to be able to give you some very actionable, understanding, insightful advice. So maybe check it out. Think about it. Couples counseling is the thing out there. Make sure you let us know your comments down or your thoughts down in the comments below. If you are new here, please subscribe. If you're on the audio, please subscribe. We'll see you again tomorrow for a much lighter situation. Nothing like, relationship, earth-shattering advice or anything. But we're going to be talking about things that we can watch over and over again without ever possibly getting bored. I feel like everything bores me eventually, but I don't know. I have some answers. We'll talk about them tomorrow. Make sure you rate and subscribe. We'll see you tomorrow for more advice.
And don't forget, don't be a butt cheek.
Bing.